Hi there, I'm Helma Nassab, and I have with me Roger Ross Williams, the director and producer of the documentary God Loves Uganda. Hi Roger.
Hi.
Great to meet you.
It's great to meet you.
I
Good to be here.
can't wait to hear about your docu, which
Yeah.
playing in about 30 minutes.
It's playing in about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It's about American evangelicals in Uganda and their influence over public policy, most notably the anti-homosexuality bill, which calls for the death penalty for homosexuals.
It's a very long reach from here all the way to Uganda.
Yeah, it is. You know, I think American evangelicals, feeling they've lost the culture war, they've taken it to the global south, where they are winning the culture wars. And because of money and influence and what America represents, they're controlling policy in a lot of governments and ruling. You know, Uganda's a country that's ruled now by biblical law. There's no separation of church and state there.
How did you come up with the story? And why Uganda?
Well, I came up with the story because I'm just interested in the subject because I grew up in the church. My sister's a minister. It's our family church. And I'm interested in the power of religion, you know, for good and for evil. I'm a gay man, and it's a non-affirming church that I grew up in. So, you know, when I started reading about this, I was naturally drawn to it. Why Uganda? Well, Uganda, Idi Amin, the famous dictator of Uganda, outlawed evangelical Christianity. He was a Muslim, and so it was an underground movement. And when he fell from power, it came above ground, and it was sort of identified with the Pan-African movement. So as they came above ground, American evangelicals helped rebuild that country, and they built an infrastructure of schools and churches. Uganda is the youngest population on the planet, median age 15. So everyone's been raised up in these very, very...
And what is the population approximately?
35 million.
Major influence.
Yeah. And then Uganda is just one of many countries in sub-Saharan Africa that are
Right.
sort of in the grip of American fundamentalist evangelical Christianity.
And when did you start with, after the conception of the idea, how long did it take you to start filming? Like roughly pre-production and then filming?
From the idea to filming, it took me, it wasn't that long, it was probably about 6 months. It's funny, I was at a film festival with my last film in Mendocino, California, and one of the festival directors there, I said, you know, I really want to go to Uganda and research this idea. And she got an organic farmer to give me some money. So the organic farmer from Mendocino gave me my first money to go to Uganda. And the first person I met there was David Kato. David Kato was a activist leader who was brutally beaten and killed in his home, and is well known now around the world. He, you know, when I first met him, he said, you know, don't make a film about me, make a film about what the evangelicals are doing in my country. And he really inspired me to make the film. And I got a grant an emergency development grant from Sundance Institute really early on, and that was how I got my first shoot.
And what year was that?
2010.
And it took you how long to film? Like how many visits to Uganda? How much time did you spend there to?
It was over 3 years from beginning to end. It took me, I would go a few times a year. The first trip was like 6 weeks, and then I'd come back and look at the footage and raise more money, and then go back.
Do you have friends and contacts there?
No.
So what, you just arrived there and you say, hi, I'm
arrived
Damon,
there,
and I'm really interested in learning.
I met David Kato. Arrived at my hotel the first day. I arrived there with 5 activists, and he said, I'm going to help you, you know, get started. So he really got me started. David Kato and Frank Mugisha, who's the head of SMUG, the activist organization there. And then I met Joanna Watson, who's a prominent figure in my film. She's an American evangelical there, and she introduced me to the International House of Prayer, which plays prominently IHOP, which plays different, not the House of Pancakes, although the House of Pancakes did sue the House of Prayer.
Did they win?
They settled out of court. So IHOP has, you know, IHOP, the church, International House of Prayer, has a $30 million a year operating budget, 1,000 full-time employees. They're a huge, influential church. Yeah, they who knows what that cash settlement was.
Great.
Yes.
And when did the film premiere?
The film premiered at the Sundance Film Festival,
Okay.
the U.S. Documentary competition, in January. Yeah, we've been on the festival circuit since then. I'm on a 26-city tour all over the world right now. I'm in the middle of that. And then I finished that, and we just announced, thanks to the Ford Foundation and OSF, we're doing a 10-country tour of Africa.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Best of luck with it.
Very exciting.
I'm extremely interested in your other project, which is producing a transmedia project for the Smithsonian Museum of African American Heritage and Culture.
History and
and Culture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is it's called Traveling While Black, it's based on this, it's called the Green Book. And the Green Book was the guidebook that African Americans used to travel in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. It was sort of, when they couldn't stay, black people couldn't stay in, hotels. They had to have a series of guest houses that would accept them. You couldn't eat in restaurants. You had to really plan to travel. Because you also couldn't, gas stations didn't serve black people. So you couldn't get gas. You had to you had to put gas in the back of your car. You had to pack food. You had to, it was difficult to travel. So Mr. Green, who's a postal worker in Harlem, came up with this idea of getting postal workers, African American postal workers all across the country to contribute to the Green Book. And the Green Book, and then Esso, which is Exxon now, realized that African Americans were starting to buy cars and become mobile and become an economic force. And they sponsored the Green Book and started selling them in Esso gas stations. So that history, that part of history has been forgotten. So what we do is we're documenting that through, the musicians and athletes and people who traveled around and used the Green Book, people who house people in the Green Book. So those stories, but we're connecting those stories to the stories of the present of travel experiences, because it's still difficult to travel, and not just for black people. It's just traveling while Latino, traveling while gay, traveling while Muslim. We're doing a huge transmedia project, which I developed at the Sundance New Media, New Frontier Lab, which I attended last year. We're doing it with the Smithsonian, with Southern Poverty Law Center, with a number of different partners, the NEH, National Endowment for the Humanities. So it's very exciting, in ITVS and PBS. So it's a very exciting and overwhelming project.
Epic.
Yeah.
The whole thing
Yes.
is epic. Even the museum, which has been in the works since 1912 at least.
Yes.
That's
It's
when it was
amazing.
proposed.
I think this is
So it's
Obama's
still-
legacy. I think that
And Lonnie Bunches,
Lonnie,
who is the director of the museum, who was here on Nantucket a couple of years ago, giving a talk, and he's just a marvelous person and
Lonnie's amazing.
extremely dedicated.
Yeah, they broke ground in the museum last year with Michelle and Barack Obama and Laura Bush and Oprah Winfrey. Oprah just gave $12
Was
million
very active, yeah, I read about
to
that.
build a theater in the
Fantastic,
museum.
yeah.
It has an African architect. It's going to be a green museum. They've already laid the foundation, but it's so big, they have to bring in the exhibits before they build the museum. They're bringing a Jim Crow railroad car, which they replace the museum, and then sort of build the museum.
That's
around.
another documentary you're going to be working on.
Yes, I know. I was like,
Just the transfer of, because like I mentioned, I saw a docu about Michael Heiser's at LACMA, which was this million-ton object that was transferred, and it was made into a documentary, and it's exhilarating. So
Yeah.
that's your next. As if you don't have enough to do.
I don't have enough to
There you
do.
go.
I'll do it. But I'm really excited because we are going to recreate the experience of what it's like to be a minority and travel. And what you can do now with technology is really amazing. You can have directional cameras that can follow a person through the museum, and directional sound that can just talk to that person. So I could be walking next to you and someone will be whispering in my ear and you won't hear it because that's how amazing the technology is. We can direct sound right into your ear as you're moving about the museum.
Well, on that note, we're going to direct that sound into your ears. And hope you join us next time for our other gathering with filmmakers. Fantastic to meet you.
Nice to meet
Best
you.
of luck with
Nice
all
to
your
meet you.
projects.